Welcome to Dark Mysteries. Before we dive into tonight's terrifying stories, I have one question. Where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments. If you want more nights filled with horror, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. Now, dim the lights and step into the darkness. The Midwest Shopping Center in Ohio closed its doors in 2008, another casualty of the recession. But Derek Williams knows it never really emptied. As the sole security guard hired to patrol the abandoned mall until demolition, he discovered why the previous guards quit without notice, why the demolition keeps getting postponed, and why the local homeless won't shelter there even in the dead of winter. Derek took the job out of desperation. $30 an hour to walk empty hallways seemed too good to be true. The property management company was vague about his duties. Check for break-ins, they said. Make sure the pipes don't freeze. Document any vandalism. Simple enough. What they didn't mention was why they insisted on hiring only single guards, never pairs, or why the employment contract included a bizarre clause about psychological evaluation coverage. The mall was a time capsule of 2008. Store gates frozen mid-closure. Mannequins still dressed in outdated fashion. Food court tables set as if waiting for customers who would never return. During his first day shift, Derek found it almost peaceful. Sunlight streamed through the skylights, dust motes dancing in the beams. He could imagine the place in its heyday. Families shopping, teenagers hanging out, the constant buzz of commerce. But when night fell, everything changed. It started with the music. Muzak from the mall's speaker system, playing songs that hadn't been updated since closure. Except the power to those speakers had been cut years ago. Derek followed the sound, checking every possible source, but the music seemed to come from the walls themselves. And if you listened carefully, really carefully, you could hear something else mixed in. Voices, hundreds of them. Shopping, laughing, living. By his third night, Derek saw them, the shoppers. They appeared just after midnight, translucent figures going through the motions of a typical shopping day. Families with children, couples holding hands, solo shoppers with bags that never filled. They moved through the closed stores as if the gates didn't exist, purchasing nothing from nobody, trapped in an endless loop of consumer behavior. At first, Derek thought they were ghosts. He was wrong. They were something much worse. The shoppers were memories, not of people, but of the mall itself. Every person who had ever walked those halls had left an impression, an echo of their presence absorbed by the very structure. The mall had developed something like consciousness, built from millions of micro-interactions, transactions, emotions. And when the people stopped coming, when the lights went out and the stores closed, the mall began to dream. It dreamed of what it used to be, manifesting these memory shoppers to fill the void. But a dreaming building is still just sad. What made it terrifying was what happened when the mall realized Derek could see its dreams. The memory shoppers began to notice him. At first, just glances, double takes as they passed. Then they started following him, their footsteps echoing despite having no physical form. They would stand outside whatever store he was checking, faces pressed against glass that should have been solid to them, watching with eyes that held a desperate hunger. Derek found the previous guard's notes hidden in the security office, stuffed inside an old incident report binder. The man had documented everything. How the memory shoppers grew more solid each night. How they began trying to interact, to pull living people into their endless shopping loop. How the mall itself was learning, evolving, becoming something that fed on human presence. It's not malicious, the notes read. It's lonely, desperately, consuming lonely. It wants to be full again. It wants to matter. And if it can't have real shoppers, it will make them. It will take anyone who stays too long and make them part of its dream, forever. The proof was in the old security footage Derek found. Guards who had worked there over the years, caught on camera during their final shifts. The tape showed them being surrounded by memory shoppers, pulled into stores that shouldn't have been accessible, and then joining them, becoming part of the endless shopping day, doomed to browse empty stores for eternity. Derek tried to quit that night, but his replacement never showed. The property company's phone went straight to voicemail. When he tried to leave, his car wouldn't start. His phone lost signal. The mall didn't want to let him go. It had been alone too long. The memory shoppers grew bolder. They spoke to him now, their voices like old TV commercials trying to lure him into stores. "Special sale today only," they'd whisper. "Everything must go. Customer appreciation event." Each night, resisting became harder. The mall was wearing him down, using his own exhaustion against him. On his 14th night, Derek discovered the truth about the property management company. It didn't exist. The checks he'd been cashing came from an account registered to the mall itself, somehow maintaining a legal presence despite being abandoned. The mall had hired him. It had been hiring guards for years, feeding on them one by one, adding them to its collection of memory shoppers. Derek made a decision. If he couldn't leave, he'd make sure no one else got trapped. He set fires throughout the mall, small ones at first, then larger. The memory shoppers screamed, not in pain but in grief, watching their prison burn. The mall itself seemed to shudder. Its dreams disrupted by smoke and flame, but structures that have learned to dream don't die easily. As Derek ran for the exit, the mall made one last attempt to keep him. Every memory shopper it had ever created surrounded him, thousands of them, all reaching out, all whispering the same thing. Stay. Shop. Be part of us. Never be alone again. Derek burst through the doors as the fire department arrived, called by some impossible emergency system. The mall burned for 3 days. When the smoke cleared, nothing remained but twisted metal and melted glass. Derek never spoke about what happened inside. The official report blamed faulty wiring. But sometimes, late at night, Derek drives past the empty lot where the mall once stood. And in his rearview mirror, just for a moment, he sees them. Memory shoppers, standing where the entrance used to be, bags in hand, waiting for a mall that no longer exists. Waiting for him to come back. The lot remains empty to this day. Every attempt to build there fails. Equipment malfunctions. Workers report feeling watched. And if you stand there at midnight, locals say, you can still hear it. Muzak playing from nowhere. And voices, hundreds of them, shopping in a mall that exists only in memory. Rachel Chen thought urban exploration was about discovering forgotten places. But when she broke into the Sunrise Plaza Mall in Michigan, she discovered some places are abandoned for reasons that have nothing to do with economics. The mall had been closed since 2011, but the JCPenney anchor store held a secret that explained why even the demolition crews refused to enter. Rachel had explored dozens of dead malls. She knew the routine. Find an entry point, document the decay, post the photos online for fellow enthusiasts. Sunrise Plaza should have been just another notch on her urban explorer belt. But from the moment she squeezed through the loading dock entrance, something felt different. Wrong. Like the mall was holding its breath, the main concourse was typical abandoned mall aesthetic. Dead plants, dry fountains, storefronts with their gates pulled halfway down as if frozen in the act of closing. Rachel's flashlight cut through the darkness, her camera capturing the post-apocalyptic beauty. But she kept being drawn to the old JCPenney. Something about it pulled at her, like gravity, like magnetism. like destiny. The JCPenney was 3 stories, but the mall directory she found showed something odd. The store had a basement level that wasn't marked as retail space. Storage, probably, or employee areas. But when Rachel found the service elevator, she noticed it had buttons for 2 basement levels, B1 and B2. The B2 button had been covered with duct tape, and someone had written "Do Not" across it in Sharpie. Urban explorers live for do not signs. The elevator still had power somehow, the building's emergency systems running on some impossible generator that should have died years ago. Rachel pressed B1 first, finding exactly what she expected. Storage rooms, employee break areas, old merchandise covered in dust. But there was also a door, heavy and metal, marked "Authorized Personnel Only." It was locked, but the lock had been broken from the inside, the metal twisted outward as if something had forced its way through. Beyond the door, stairs descended into absolute darkness. The walls changed from commercial drywall to older brick, then to stone that looked far older than the mall, older than the town itself. Rachel's urban explorer instincts screamed at her to leave, but curiosity won. She descended. B2 wasn't built by JCPenney. It wasn't built by anyone from this century. The basement opened into a vast, circular chamber, carved from solid rock. The walls were covered in mannequins, hundreds of them, arranged in precise rows. But these weren't modern fiberglass figures. They were old, made of wax and wood, and materials Rachel couldn't identify. And they were too lifelike, too specific. Each face unique, each pose different, as if they'd been modeled after real people. In the center of the chamber stood a figure that made Rachel's blood freeze. It looked like a mannequin at first, dressed in a JCPenney uniform from the 1970s. But it moved, slowly, jerkily, like a video playing at the wrong speed. It was arranging the other mannequins, positioning them with careful precision, occasionally stopping to stroke a face or adjust a pose. Rachel tried to back away, but her foot kicked something. A wallet. She picked it up, finding an ID for a James Morrison reported missing in 1987. The photo showed a middle-aged man with distinctive features. Features she recognized on one of the mannequins. The thing in the JCPenney uniform turned at the sound. Its face was smooth, featureless, like an unfinished mannequin. But when it spoke, the voice came from everywhere. From all the mannequins at once, a chorus of the disappeared. "A new customer," they said in unison. "We've been waiting so long for a new customer." Rachel ran, but the chamber had changed. Where the stairs had been, there was only wall. The mannequins began to move, stepping down from their platforms with sounds like cracking wood and tearing fabric. The thing in the uniform glided toward her, its hand extended in a mockery of customer service. "Let me help you find what you're looking for," it said with 100 voices. Everyone finds what they're looking for in JCPenney. The mannequins surrounded her, their hands reaching out, not to grab but to pose her, to position her, to make her like them. Rachel felt her muscles beginning to stiffen, her skin hardening, her thoughts slowing. The transformation wasn't violent. It was almost peaceful, like sinking into a warm bath, like finally finding where you belonged. But Rachel had one advantage the others hadn't. Her camera, still recording, still live streaming to her urban exploration channel. Her followers saw everything, called 911, reported her location, and within minutes the sound of sirens filled the air above. The thing in the uniform hesitated. The mannequins froze. And in that moment of distraction, Rachel saw the truth. The chamber wasn't sealed. It was an illusion, a manipulation. The stairs were right where they'd always been. She ran, her muscles fighting against the stiffness, her will battling the strange peace that tried to claim her. She burst through the loading dock as police arrived, gasping and sobbing, unable to explain what she'd seen. The police found nothing in the basement. No chamber, no mannequins. Just empty storage rooms and her imagination, they said. Stress and darkness playing tricks. But the live stream told a different story. Before the police ordered it taken down, thousands saw the footage. The chamber, the mannequins, the thing that managed the eternal retail floor of the damned. They saw Rachel's transformation beginning, saw her skin taking on the sheen of polished plastic before she broke free. Sunrise Plaza was demolished 2 weeks later. Emergency demolition, the city said. Structural instability. But the demolition crew reported something odd. When they brought down the J.C. Penney, they found spaces in the foundation that shouldn't exist. Chambers that weren't on any blueprint. And mannequins, hundreds of them. All with unique faces, all positioned as if shopping, as if working, as if living. They burned them all, every last one. The smoke smelled wrong, they said, like burning hair and melting plastic and something else, something alive. Rachel never went exploring again. She stays away from malls, from department stores, from anywhere mannequins might be. Because sometimes, late at night, she still feels it. The stiffness in her joints, the hardening of her skin, the terrible peace trying to claim her. And she knows that somewhere, in some other abandoned mall, in some other forgotten basement, the thing in the JCPenney uniform is still working, still collecting, still helping customers find exactly what they're looking for, whether they want to or not. Tommy Nguyen was hired to salvage what he could from the Westfield shopping center before demolition. Copper wire, steel beams, anything with resale value. But what he found in the abandoned Orange Julius changed his understanding of why some malls die while others survive. Some closures aren't about economics. They're about containment. The Westfield Center in Phoenix had been shuttered for only 2 years, but it looked like it had been abandoned for decades. Tommy's salvage crew had worked plenty of dead malls, but this one felt different. The decay was too advanced, too specific. While the structure remained sound, everything organic had rotted. Every plastic surface had melted slightly. Every metal fixture showed signs of extreme heat exposure, but there were no signs of fire. Tommy's crew started with the easy stuff. Copper from the walls, aluminum from the storefronts. But they all avoided the food court. Something about it felt wrong. The smell, for one thing. Not rot, not mold, but ozone, like the air before a lightning strike. And the temperature. While the rest of the mall held the desert heat, the food court was cold. Arctic cold. On his third day, Tommy decided to investigate alone. His crew was working on the Macy's, giving him time to satisfy his curiosity. The food court was a graveyard of failed franchises. Sparrow, Panda Express, Subway. But the Orange Julius stood out. While every other food stall had been stripped and vandalized, the Orange Julius was pristine, untouched. Its equipment still in place, cups still stacked, as if waiting for the next customer. Behind the counter, Tommy found the logs. Shift reports dating back to 1994, when the mall first opened. Normal entries for years, then something changed in 2019. The handwriting became frantic. Different employees all reporting the same thing. A customer who came every day at 2:47 p.m. always ordered the same thing. A medium strawberry banana Julius. Always paid with exact change. Always sat at the same table and never, ever drank. He just holds it, one entry read. Sits there for exactly 1 hour, holding the cup, staring at nothing. Then he leaves, cup still full, every single day. The entries grew more disturbed. Employees quit without notice. Those who stayed reported nightmares, lost time, unexplained burns on their hands after serving him. The final entry, dated 3 days before the mall's abrupt closure, was different. Just 4 words. He's not a customer. Tommy found the security footage. The mall's cameras had been digital, backed up to a server that somehow still had power. He scrolled to the dates mentioned in the logs. There he was, the customer, sitting at the same table every day at 2:47 p.m. But the cameras revealed what the employees couldn't see. The man wasn't alone. Around him, invisible to the naked eye, but clear on the security feed, were others. Dozens of them, all holding cups, all sitting perfectly still, all waiting. Tommy enhanced the footage, and his blood went cold. The waiting figures weren't people. They were burned, charred. Their faces melted, their clothes fused to their skin, and in the center, the man who came every day wasn't a man at all. It was something wearing the shape of a man, something that glowed with heat the cameras could barely process. He researched the mall's history. In 1993, during construction, there had been an accident. A gas explosion in what would become the food court. 17 workers killed, burned alive. The mall was built anyway. The food court positioned exactly where they died. The orange Julius, Tommy realized with growing horror, sat precisely at the explosion's epicenter. The man who came every day was the foreman of that crew, or what was left of him. Something about the way they died, the intensity of the heat, the sudden violence of it, had burned them into reality itself. They were stuck, repeating their lunch break for eternity, and the foreman had found a way to manifest, to order his drink, to maintain the routine that kept them anchored. But the logs suggested something else was happening. The visits were increasing, not just 2:47 p.m. anymore, but multiple times. The burned crew was growing stronger, more present. The final security footage from the day before closure showed why the mall had really shut down. At 2:47 p.m., every single table in the food court filled with burned figures, hundreds of them, all holding orange Julius cups, all waiting. And for the first time, the foreman spoke, his voice captured by the security microphone. Almost time for our break to end. Tommy heard footsteps behind him. He turned to find his crew, but they weren't alone. Standing among them, translucent but growing more solid by the second, were the burned workers. And at their center, the foreman, still holding his never-consumed drink. "You're late for work," the foreman said, his voice like crackling fire. "The mall's not finished." "We have a job to complete." Tommy ran. His crew ran. They abandoned their equipment, their trucks, everything. But as they fled, Tommy saw the truth. The mall wasn't being demolished. It was being rebuilt. Every night, the burned crew continued their work, adding sections that existed in no blueprint, expansions that violated physics, a structure growing according to plans only the dead understood. The city condemned the site the next day. Official reason: structural instability. Real reason: the overnight security footage showing massive construction with no visible workers, just tools moving by themselves, concrete pouring from nowhere, steel beams welding themselves into impossible configurations. The Westfield shopping center still stands, surrounded by federal barriers, monitored by cameras that no one wants to watch. Because every day at 2:47 p.m., they show the same thing: the food court rebuilt and pristine, the orange Julius fully operational, and hundreds of customers, all burned, all waiting, all holding drinks they'll never consume. Tommy moved to another state, changed careers, tried to forget. But sometimes he gets calls from unknown numbers. When he answers, all he hears is the sound of blenders, the hiss of soft-serve machines, and a voice asking, "When are you coming back to finish the job?" The mall expands every night. Homeland Security monitors it, documents it, but can't stop it. They've calculated that at its current rate of growth, the Westfield shopping center will reach the city limits in 18 months. And when it does, when the living and the dead occupy the same commercial space, the foreman's crew will finally clock out. Their break will be over, and their real work will begin.